Ladies and gentlemen, the first man to build 21-inch biceps, drug-free.
My friends, you know, I'm so happy, really. I tell you, I'm just so much, I'm like elated because I've lived so much longer than my bodybuilding friends that grew up with me. I'm not happy because of that. I'm sad because of that. Because they demise, to me, I consider early. And it touches me because I remember life was so exciting when I was growing up. And you know something? I'm at the stage of life, I feel good that I can give something back after all these years of experience, of learning, experimenting, and really relishing life itself. And I said to myself, influential people in your life, how important that is. You know something? The most influential person in my life that I say today, when I look, I say, where would I be without my mentor? I don't know, but I know I doubt I would be as contented and happy as I am now if it wasn't for the most influential person in my life, which is Joseph Weider, the father of bodybuilding. A lot of you guys probably never heard of him because he never publicized himself. But you ask Arnold, ask any of these guys, he made bodybuilding acceptable. He glamorized bodybuilding. He loved bodybuilding. He wasn't a top bodybuilder himself, but he loved it. And I remember when I first met him, I was just a teenager. And my arms, I think at that time was maybe, well, I'm not about 16. And it's something, and I wanted to meet Joe Weider. So we drove over to 16 Hopkins Avenue. I remember like it's yesterday, in Jersey City. And I was like, my heart was thumping because it was Joe Weider. Joe Weider was the man that glamorized bodybuilding. So it's something, I don't know what it is, and I asked Joe a number of times why, but we clicked off on immediate meeting. When I came, I said, Joe, my name is Leroy. He said, yeah, I heard about you in that East Side Barbell Club, all you guys are raising all that hell there. And he shook my hand, and I said, wow, Joe, and I looked around. It wasn't nowhere as he got, that was like, oh, God, over 60 years ago. And it was not a big, fabulous office like it became later, but it was Joe Weider. And I could be connected. I wanted so, and I thanked him and I left. And I said, geez, I'd love to work there. But I didn't think Joe would hire me, you know? So when I graduated high school, I worked at the post office a little while, but I was just unhappy. I wanted to work for Joe Weider, the man bodybuilding. I was so fired up with bodybuilding. I wanted to work with Joe Weider. But I said, what am I going to do there? So I went back. I said, Joe, do you got anything can I work for you? He said, sure. Well, you want to start tomorrow? I almost fainted on the spot. I was so happy. And Joe took me around. They had a little makeshift gym in the back of the building. And that's where they did all the incoming for the shipping out. Joe said, you can work in my shipping department. And he says, you know what? You stick with me, Leroy, and you'll soon be making $2.25 a week. And you know something, my friends? That was a lot of money in those days. I said, $225. Yeah, sure. He started me off with $100 a week. I'll never, never forget it. And as I was training and my arms started getting bigger, Joe said, boy, you're looking. Keep up the good work. We're going places. He didn't say you are going places. He said, we are going places. I'll never forget it. I mean, it was over 60 years. And I sit and I'm just overwhelmed with it. Because now I have no health complaints. And I tell you something, as I grew and I got bigger, and my arms, 18-inch arms at that time was considered the epitome. And Joe said, Jesus, look at us all. You may make 18. Never forget it. I'll never forget it. And you know what's the funny thing about me? I wasn't trying to make a big arm, big biceps. All I was trying to do was just train and grow. I was just so enthused. I'm with Joe Weider. In any case, Joe, I grew, and Joe says, I think it was 18, maybe 19. Joe said, I'm going to put you on the cover. Well, they didn't put black guys on the cover in those days. This was before the Civil Rights Movement. And so I said, oh, come on, Joe, you ain't going to put me on the cover. He said, Leroy, I tell you, he's going to put you on the cover. Well, you know, of course he put. I think it was 1953. I was on the cover, the first black guy on the cover, and I was fascinated. And then, of course, I grew, and Joe used to call me the monster because I started just growing and growing. I was so enthused. And when he'd have his business associates come into the office, because we moved from 16 Hopkins Avenue to Union City, New Jersey. And so he built his own new building there. And he'd have his associates there that come, you know, business associates, and he'd be in the office, and I'd be in the back. I had Harold Poole there, Dave Draper, and these guys. And Joe said, Leroy. They didn't call me Leroy because he was so affectionately called me the monster. He said, Monster, come in, I want these guys to see you. And my arms, I think at that time was about maybe 19 and a half, 20 inches, about 19 and a half. And he said, Leroy, take off your shirt. And he said, can you imagine if you see anything like that, you know? And these guys be looking, they weren't bodybuilders. They be looking, look at that body. Look at those arms. He said, okay, Leroy, go on back there and do some work, you know? And anyhow, he was the driving force behind everything. When he decided to move his whole operation to California, he said, come on, Leroy, you want? I said, I can't go, Joe. Because to me, California is like a foreign country. I was born and raised in New York. And I was just got married. And I don't know if my son was born yet or not. I'm not sure. Anyhow, just got married. And I was about to, he says, well, I don't know what you're going to do. I said, I don't know you either, Joe. He says, why don't you open a store? I said, what? He said, open a store, I'll back you up. Don't worry about the money. Open the store, selling my stuff, and you can do all right. You know, to me, I said, there's something wrong with Joe. But here's a man always looking out for me. And I always was wondering why he was so much in my corner, why he was so much pushing me. And I asked him, oh, why are you so good to me? He used to get annoyed. He says, because you don't lie to yourself. Leroy, leave me alone. And I said, why? I was just fascinated. So then, you know me, I'm just one of those guys. See, to me, kindness is a gift. It's not a right. When somebody does well for you, you don't have a right to their kindness. It's a gift. And I wonder why he's giving me this gift. Why? Because I didn't do anything. I mean, I used to be very open, talk a lot. And he used to say, Leroy, stop always telling these people what to do. They're happy in their world. Leave them alone. You know, he was just into me. So then I said, Joe, tell me why. He said, Leroy, because you're an open book. You don't have to figure you out. And it made me feel good. But he supported me when I first started the store. Things were not so good. I needed extra money, put more merchandise in the store. I just picked up the phone, called Joe Weider. And Joe sometimes would send the guy over for the check. I didn't have to go because I had opened up the store before he moved. You know, because I said I got to get going. I got to get established something. Because once you move, I get nothing. You see. But in any case, I always driven when Joe said do something after I got hurt, and he told me to write articles because I got hurt. I got smacked. I tell you what, my friends, if you go on my website, LeroyCopa.com, it will explain to you the accident I had It explained why I didn't compete anymore. And it also tells you how I went into the health business. As a matter of fact, my entire life is on that website. Everything. From my 3 marriages. So a lot of guys will say, yeah, but I mean, the love of my life, I was married 26 years to. So, in any case, I just want you to know what influential means. I mean, I stop and say, what road would I have taken? What would I have done if it wasn't for Joe? Because Joe stirred me in my natural proclivity I had for bodybuilding. I didn't have any, I wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer. I was looking for the answers to anything. I just thought I'd work all my life. And then I realized it wouldn't work with Joe. I was going to work for Joe. I was puzzled until Joe said, open the store. And I never thought I would make it. But I said one thing, if you try, you may fail. If you don't try, you're guaranteed to fail. And I ventured into the store with Joe's full support. And I had 8 stores during my lifetime, and I made millions of dollars. And I can only attribute it as I didn't have a father. My mother raised me alone. I mean, I guess everybody has a father, but I didn't know who the hell he was. Because once I was born, he took a powder. So who he is and don't give a shit. Really, never did. People said, why you ought to look for your father? What do I care about? He's not interested in me. Why should I be interested in finding him? So I never knew him, never heard of him, nothing. My mother took care of me. Look at my website, you see when I had my stores, my mother worked on the second floor where we had 2 floors, and she was the bookkeeper and everything else. Because as soon as I began to progress, my mama, that's what I call her, mama, she was my love. But she wasn't influential in my life. She didn't steer in my life. If I was, the only man, the only human being that, I had other people that helped me, but influential, the nucleus of how I'm sitting here talking to you now came from my good friend Joe Weider, which died in April of the 13th in his 90s. And I'll always remember him, and it keeps me happy. It gets a smile on my face. Because, having a mentor, an influential person like Joe in your life, more people don't have than do have. So my friends, I don't want you to get bored with my life. Go to my website, LeroyCoper.com, and don't try to look at the website or don't go there thinking it's going like a video. It'll take you all day if you want to look at it, examine it all, because it's broken down in sections. When you get time, take a look at it. And you'll see my life, how I started bodybuilding at the age of 10, and how I am growing old gracefully. My friends, to be, I like this, continued.
Wait a minute. Before you click away, I want you to subscribe, like, comment, hell, even dislike if you want to. At least do something before you get out of here.